Tom, can I tell you something a little uncomfortable?
Sure, what is it?
Most people don't fail interviews because of their English.
Really? I thought that was the main reason.
That's what everyone thinks, but the real problem is something quieter. It's that moment when the interview starts, the camera turns on, your heart beats faster, your mind goes blank, and even simple sentences feel difficult.
That's exactly how I feel. I practice a lot, but when I speak, I forget everything.
And here's the truth. The more you try to sound perfect, the more nervous you become. And the more nervous you become, the harder it is to speak naturally.
So, trying to be perfect actually makes it worse?
Yes, it's a cycle. People focus on sounding impressive, using big words, memorizing answers, but real interviews are conversations, not scripts.
I think I've been preparing the wrong way.
Let me ask you honestly, if your interview was tomorrow, would you feel calm or nervous and unsure?
Honestly, nervous. I'm afraid I'll say something wrong.
That's what we're going to fix today. Not your grammar, not your vocabulary, something deeper.
Like what?
How to stay calm, think clearly, and speak in a simple, natural way that actually works.
That sounds different from what I usually learn.
It is, and once you understand this, everything changes.
I hope so.
Maybe your next interview won't feel like a test anymore.
Then what will it feel like?
A conversation you're ready to handle. So stay with us. In the next part, we'll walk through a real conversation step by step.
Yeah, this is where things start to make sense.
Take a breath, relax, and let's begin. Tom, I keep hearing something in your voice. You're not just nervous about the interview, you're carrying the pressure of it, aren't you?
Yeah, I can feel it. The more I think about it, the heavier it gets. I know I prepared, but I still don't feel ready.
That's because your mind is treating this like a test. And when something feels like a test, your body reacts with pressure. But here's the shift. It's not a test. It's a conversation.
I understand that, but in the moment, it doesn't feel that simple.
That's okay. We don't fight the feeling. We change what you can control. Not the interviewer, not the questions, your environment. That's where your confidence begins.
So, I shouldn't start with answers. I should start with setup?
Exactly. Start with your connection. If your internet is unstable, even for a few seconds, your focus breaks and your confidence follows.
That's true. When calls lag, I feel uncomfortable immediately.
That's why you test it. Don't assume. Call someone, check your sound, and listen to your own voice.
I don't like hearing my own voice.
Most people don't, but once you get used to it, something changes. You stop being surprised by how you sound, and that gives you control.
Okay, I'll do that.
Now, your space. Be honest. What does it look like right now?
A bit messy. Not terrible, but definitely not clean.
That matters because your environment doesn't just affect how others see you, it affects how you feel. A messy space creates a distracted mind. A clean space creates clarity.
So, cleaning my room is also preparing my mind.
Exactly. You're preparing your energy, not just your image.
That's a different way to see it.
Now think about distractions, your phone, notifications, background noise.
Yeah, I usually ignore those until something happens.
And that's why they become problems. Preparation isn't about big actions. It's about removing small risks early.
Got it. I'll fix that.
Good. Now, lighting. Simple question. When you talk to someone, do you want to see their face clearly?
Of course.
Then give the interviewer the same experience. Sit in front of light, not behind it. Let them see you clearly.
I've been doing that wrong.
Most people do. That's why small changes create big differences.
I'll adjust that.
Now, your clothes. What were you thinking of wearing?
Something casual, since it's online.
Smile. Let me ask you, when you dress casually, how do you feel?
Relaxed, maybe too relaxed?
And when you dress professionally?
More focused, more serious.
That's the point. You're not dressing for the camera, you're dressing for your mindset.
So it's about how I feel, not just how I look.
Always. Confidence starts before you speak.
Okay, I'll dress properly.
Good. Now let's go to the part you're most worried about, speaking.
Yeah, this is where I lose control.
Calmly. What happens when you get nervous?
I speak faster, and I make more mistakes.
Then don't try to speak better, just speak slower.
Slower feels unnatural.
Not at all. Slow means clear, and clarity builds trust.
I've been trying to sound natural by speaking fast.
And that's why you lose control. Slow down, and you give yourself space to think.
That makes sense.
And stop chasing difficult words. Simple words, clear ideas, that's enough.
I always try to sound more advanced.
And that creates pressure. Complexity doesn't impress if it's not clear. Clarity always wins.
Clarity creates trust.
Exactly. Now, if you don't understand a question, what are you doing?
I'll ask. Could you repeat that, please?
Good. Never guess. Guessing creates confusion. Asking creates control.
I see that now.
And if you need time?
Let me think for a moment.
Perfect. That pause shows confidence, not weakness.
I've been rushing for no reason.
You were chasing perfection. Now you're choosing clarity.
That feels much lighter.
Now, your energy. Smile a little. Relax your face.
Even if I don't feel confident?
Yes, sometimes you act first and confidence follows.
That's powerful.
And eye contact. Look at the camera. It may feel strange, but it creates connection.
So it feels real to them.
Exactly, because interviews are not performances, they are connections.
I think I understand now. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present.
Clear, calm, present. That's your goal.
I don't feel perfect, but I feel more ready.
And that's enough. When you're prepared the right way, you can handle whatever comes.
Thank you, Cece. I really needed this.
You're doing better than you think. Just remember, this is not a test.
It's a conversation.
And tomorrow, you'll prove that to yourself.
Tom, now that you've seen how the conversation flows, let's slow things down for a moment. I don't want you to just listen and forget. I want you to take a few simple phrases and actually feel comfortable using them.
Yeah, I noticed something. The sentences weren't complicated, but they felt very natural.
Exactly. That's the point most people miss. They think confidence comes from big words, but in reality, confidence comes from simple sentences you can say without hesitation.
So it's not about knowing more, it's about using what I already know better.
That's right. Let's look at a key moment. You said, "I feel a bit nervous." That works because it's honest, but still controlled.
So saying very nervous sounds too strong?
Yes, a bit nervous shows awareness, not panic. It feels more balanced.
I like that. It feels safer to say.
Now think about this. That's completely normal. Why is that powerful?
It helps people relax.
Exactly. Interviews are not just about answers. They are about connection. Small phrases can change the energy.
I always thought interviews were just about saying the right thing.
That's why many people sound robotic. They memorize instead of communicating.
That's me. I try to remember everything, and then I forget everything.
That's the trap. Instead of memorizing, focus on flexible phrases, like, "Let me think for a moment."
That one really helps. It gives me time.
And it sounds natural. Pausing is not a weakness. It shows you are thinking.
I usually rush because I'm afraid of silence.
Silence is not the problem. Confusion is. A short pause gives you clarity.
That changes everything.
Now, an important phrase. "Sorry, could you repeat that, please?"
I'll definitely use that.
Good. Never guess. When you ask, you take control.
So asking is not weakness.
It's clarity, and clarity is confidence.
I like that idea.
Now, you've got this. It sounds simple, but it matters.
It feels encouraging.
Because confidence doesn't always come first. Sometimes it comes from what you tell yourself.
So I can say that before the interview.
Exactly. A small sentence can shift your mindset.
I'm starting to see something. All these phrases are short, but they solve real problems.
That's the key. Language is a tool, and good tools are simple.
So instead of learning many difficult sentences, I focus on a few useful ones.
Yes, master a few, and you can handle many situations.
That feels much more realistic.
And remember this, don't try to sound perfect, try to sound human.
That really stayed with me.
Because interviewers are not looking for perfection, they are looking for someone they can understand and connect with.
So clarity and honesty matter more than perfect grammar.
Always.
I feel like I've been making things too complicated.
Most people do, but progress comes from simple things done consistently.
Then, if I practice these phrases, I can actually improve.
Not just improve, you'll feel more in control.
Thank you, Cece. I feel like I can actually use this.
And that's the goal, not just to understand, but to use.
And before we move on, if this is helping you feel more confident and clear, take a moment to subscribe to the channel.
Yeah, if these simple phrases are making a difference for you, don't miss the next lessons.
We're here to help you practice step by step in a way that actually works in real life.
Tom, now you feel more comfortable with the phrases, I want to take you one step deeper. Because sometimes it's not the words that create problems, it's the small details around them.
You mean things outside of speaking?
Exactly. Let's start with a simple word, connection. When you hear that word, what do you think about?
Internet, like Wi-Fi, signal.
Yes, that's the obvious meaning. But in an interview, connection has two layers. One is technical, the other is human.
Human connection?
Yes, your internet needs to be stable, but your presence also needs to feel stable. If your voice is clear, your face is visible, and your energy is calm, people feel comfortable talking to you.
So connection is not just about the signal, it's also about how I show up.
Exactly. Now think about the word background.
That's what people see behind me, right?
Yes, but again, it's more than that. A clean background doesn't just look professional, it sends a quiet message. It says, I am organized, I am prepared.
Even if I don't say it, they can feel it.
That's right. Interviews are full of small signals. People don't always explain what they feel, but they notice everything.
That makes me realize details really matter.
They do. Now, let's talk about a very important word, confident. What does confidence mean to you?
Speaking without fear?
That's one part, but real confidence is not the absence of fear. It's the ability to stay clear even when you feel nervous.
So I can feel nervous and still be confident?
Yes,
Confidence is not about being perfect, it's about being present.
That changes how I see it.
Good. Now another important word, prepare.
That one sounds simple, just getting ready.
Yes, but many people misunderstand it. They think preparation means memorizing answers, but real preparation is understanding yourself.
Understanding myself?
Yes, knowing your experience, knowing your strengths, knowing what you want. When you understand these things, you don't need to memorize. You can speak naturally.
That feels much more real.
Because it is. Now, one last word, deadline.
That's the time limit to finish something.
Correct. And in interviews, deadlines tell people something important about you. They show if you are reliable. If you say, I always meet deadlines, it's not just a sentence, it's a promise.
So words can carry responsibility.
Exactly. That's why simple words matter. They are not just vocabulary. They represent how you work, how you think, and how you show up.
I never thought vocabulary could have that much meaning.
Most people don't. That's why they focus on learning more words instead of understanding the weight of the words they already use.
This feels deeper than just learning English.
Because it is. Language is not just about speaking. It's about how people experience you.
So if I understand this, I'm not just learning to answer questions. I'm learning how to communicate who I am.
Exactly, Tom. And that's what truly makes a difference in an interview.
Now let's take a moment and look back at everything we covered today. Not just the tips, but the bigger picture. What do you feel is different now compared to the beginning?
Honestly, I feel calmer. Before, I thought I needed to be perfect. Now I understand I just need to be clear and real.
That's a powerful shift, because today wasn't about learning complicated English. It was about removing pressure.
Yeah, I learned that speaking slowly is okay. Taking a pause is okay. Even asking someone to repeat a question is okay.
Exactly. You learned how to stay in control even when you feel nervous.
And I also realized something important. Small things matter, like my background, my lighting, even what I wear.
Yes, those small details shape how people experience you, and more importantly, how you experience yourself.
I think that's what helped me the most. It's not just about what the interviewer sees, it's also about how I feel inside.
That's the key. When you feel calm and prepared, your words become clearer, and when your words are clear, your confidence naturally follows.
I also like the idea that I don't need many words, just a few simple, useful phrases that I can actually use.
Because real communication is not about impressing, it's about connecting.
That sentence really stayed with me.
Good, because if you remember only one thing from today, let it be this. You don't need perfect English to succeed in an interview. You need clarity, honesty, and presence.
I feel like I can actually try now, not just prepare, but really try.
And that's where progress begins, not when you feel ready, but when you decide to show up anyway.
Thank you, Cece. This feels different from anything I've learned before.
And if you feel the same way, if this conversation helped you see interviews in a new light, then don't stop here.
Listeners, take a moment to subscribe to Focus English with Cece channel so you don't miss the next lessons.
And more importantly, tell us in the comments, what part helped you the most today? Was it the mindset, the phrases, or the small details you never noticed before?
Or maybe what still makes you feel nervous about interviews?
Share it with us, because the more you express it, the easier it becomes to improve.
And if you know someone who is preparing for an interview, send this to them. It might help more than you think.
Keep practicing, keep improving, and remember, your next interview is not a test.
It's a conversation.
A conversation you are now ready to handle.